The microwave. So the microwave is just a rotating turntable tray. Again, this is one of the 110 appliances that I said that needs 110. It doesn't work from your battery. And again, if we can set our clock, for example, and if the power were to go out, we have to reset it because again, it is a 110 only. Pretty common in most households these days, so not much to discuss there. Your range hood light and fan. There you do have both. Now there is a flap on the outside. When we do go to the outside, you'll notice you have to lift the flap up to allow basically any effluent from the range top out. Otherwise, it just doesn't do anything. So we'll see that when we go outside. Again, 12 volt. Remember, 12 volts coming from the converter when we're plugged in, and from the battery or your vehicle when we're not. The range itself, we can just lift up the top, the range top. We flip that up. If hide a light, you'll notice that it specifies that right on the range top, a barbecue lighter. Light it up. And then of course you want to use the fan, and then you light it, and then you can do the same and adjust your temperature, the flame height for all different three of them. Okay, this is a tempered glass, so you can you don't want to be having the burner on while it sits down, but you can actually slide some pots and pans on top of that. Your sink, of course, double sink with strainers, nothing complicated there. The refrigerator. Let's talk about the refrigerator. The refrigerator, you're more maybe if you can slide over and just kind of just stay right there, and then you can actually see the controls. So let's talk about the refrigerator. With the refrigerator, this is not like a refrigerator we're going to find at home. There's no Freon, there's no compressor. What we have on board this refrigerator, this one happens to be made by Dometic. Both Dometic and Norcold use almost the identical same process. It's a gas absorption process. Behind this refrigerator, actually you can see the screws, there's a coil system that's attached. In that we have ammonia, some hydrogen, some water, and some rust prohibitive. What we do is we actually, through this 12 volt panel, this 12 volt control system, we tell that 12 volt control panel how to actually heat that ammonia. We heat it with either a propane flame or we heat it with a 110 heating element. What do you mean we heat it? Well, what happens here is that through that heating system, we actually boil that ammonia. We put it under very high pressure, it passes through the tube, and at one point, it passes over a section of, it's a double wall tube of hydrogen. We actually create a huge pressure drop. Now, if you've ever watched the weather forecast on television where you've got this high pressure system over top of us, and they show a low pressure front coming through, along with usually a storm, we get a temperature drop. So this refrigerator, or these refrigerators, use the same principle. Heat to create a pressure drop that brings a temperature drop, thus from heating I create cooling. So now that being said, have you ever barbecued in winter?
Yeah. Okay,
if you do, you know that Mother Nature steals away the heat from your barbecue trying to burn that steak with, right? So on that note, these are not as efficient when it's cold outside, because Mother Nature's stealing away the heat that I'm trying to apply to this coil. So as a result, if it's 4 or 5, 6 degrees, it doesn't say that it doesn't work, it just takes longer, more energy to do so, okay? So that being said, the freezer's job is to freeze. It's going to go down well below freezing, typically. In the refrigerator compartment, we should see 43 degrees Fahrenheit or less. They typically take approximately 12 hours. It can take up to 12 hours to get cold from just ambient temperature. So don't get afraid if it's not down to 32 degrees, you know, in an hour or so. Now, how do we make it work then? So there's only basically 3 buttons, which is very easy. The button in the left-hand position, we push it, all the lights come on. We'll see the lovely blue LED light come on. The next one is the mode. So the mode, I said it works from either electricity or gas. LP being liquid petroleum gas, AU for auto. It doesn't say electricity and gas, it says auto and gas. So in the auto setting, what does it do? In the auto setting, it's on the auto setting, it looks for electricity. If it finds electricity, being 110 electricity, it automatically heats, thus cools from electricity. Nothing is just perfect in that capacity. What auto will also do is this, I'm just going to pop down here, I'm going to turn off my main breaker, which is simulating, it's got the charge isolator up on there again as well. So what happens when we lose power, the system then automatically senses that there is 110 that's no longer available, and automatically will open up the gas valve, fire it up on propane, and should your tanks be open and propane in them, it will automatically heat, thus cool on propane. Okay, so on that note, this does it seamlessly. So if we're in a park, we have a thunderstorm roll through, we lose power, it will automatically go to gas. And then as soon as power comes back, automatically goes back to electricity. Seamlessly, don't have to worry about it. Now the next thing we can do, we can actually force it to go to gas, LP gas. If we force it to go to gas, there's a reason for it. it's only if we're really in a power limiting situation. If we think about this in auto, picture a large toaster in behind. It's not, but it's a large heating element. It actually can use a fair amount of 110. So by forcing it to go to gas, we're not at, we don't allow it to use any 110, only the 12 volt that it needs, plus some propane. So in a power limiting situation, I have now saved 110 for other appliances. So if I'm plugged into a 50 amp receptacle, that's the setting that you want to put it on. Some people say, well, I'll set it on that for going down the road. Now, we'll talk about that in a second. You can do so, but remember, if I'm in auto and I disconnect my power cord, it's going to gas anyway. It's going to gas anyway. So it doesn't matter. So on the note of the gas, it is there really only for power limiting situations, and that saves power for other things. Your temperature control, of course, there's 3 settings: the least cool, mid, and then the coldest. So that's all you have to do. Now, typically, I would say that that's where you're going to set it to get it cold. And if you notice that the vegetables or something on the upper shelf are starting to get a little bit crispy, then you just back it off. Okay. Now, traveling down the road. Legally and technically, we're safe to do so. Tunnels and stuff, they want the propane off, so no, that's a no-no. Possibly at border crossings. The thing is that you understand. So now that we understand it's a heating system, and I potentially have a propane flame, and it's on the outside of my trailer. So if I pull over for fuel, I potentially have a flame I can hear it going now, at a fuel pump. So not your fuel pump, but somebody behind you, a car or 2 lengths behind you. So the idea is this, is that understand, you can run this thing, you're going down the main, I get that, you're going to want to run a refrigerator. So you're going to run it, it's going to be running in propane while you're on the road, and remember your vehicle supplying the 12 volt, your propane tanks are open and on, it's totally safe to do so. Should you need to pull over for fuel, you do so. So when you're on the off ramp, you pull over off the off ramp, all you have to do is you turn it off. Everything shuts off. There's no propane, there's no 110, there's no spark, there's no flame, there's nothing. Pull up to the fuel pump, get your fuel, pull away from the fuel pump before you get back on the road, turn it on again. If it's in auto, guess what? You're not dragging 100 miles of extension cord behind you, so it's going to go to gas anyway. Okay. So that's the idea, and away you go. That's the way to operate, and that's the way to be safe. It's not to say that it's going to come on at the fuel pump, because remember, once it is cold, it's cold. It doesn't come on. It's like a water heater. Once it's warm, it's warm. So it doesn't always come on. But there always is that chance that it comes on, and that's what you have to keep in mind. Okay, just close that panel back.
I wonder how many people are turning this on.
It's amazing. In 12 years, I've talked to some very seasoned veterans, and in the end of it, they go, "Wow, I had not thought of that," right? Because they don't want us using our cell phones at a fuel pump, let alone having a flame, right? So. Now, thank God we haven't ever heard in the news of some major accidents, but again, it's just for safety's sake. These handles on these doors, these are new handles. We don't pull out, we rock her up to open them up. I had a couple there not too long ago, they were just tugging on them, but no, it's just rock her down and then pull, rock her up and then pull, and then we just turn this thing off. Now, when you are done with the refrigerator, unfortunately there is the potential for mold growth, because again, mold will grow with moisture and you will get some sweating when it shuts off, and lack of oxygen. So what happens is that all you want to do is wipe it down with some type of bleach solution and leave the door ajar, a tea towel or something like that to help keep that door ajar. Okay, so that's our refrigerator. Any questions on the refrigerator?
No.
Okay, we'll move to our heating system. And again, this is an extremely very simple system. We have a furnace that's located somewhere here on the floor, actually underneath of our sink is the intake grate, cold air return.
Excuse me for a minute?
Yes, Carl.
I'm looking for the plug in the back of the
Oh,
let me show you where it is.
Sorry. I was looking all over the place.